Hello, church family. It's Pastor Moses. I'm actually here in one of the farms of our church members. I'm just marveling at how wonderful the harvest is. I'm reminded of our sermon series that is starting this Sunday when we look at 4 verbs that have to do with farming: sowing, growing, pruning, and harvesting. Now, I know that for most of you who are in the farming business, we are getting close to the harvest season. The wheat's already come off. The wet corn has come off. A lot of you are probably working on the beans, and soon the corn will come off. But as we look at this Sunday, we'll be looking at what it means when we're looking at the word sowing. Sowing. Now, this is not the right season to talk about sowing because, as I said, most of us are harvesting. But what I have in front of me is some corn. Now, for those of you who know farming, probably disregard everything I will say, but for those of you who don't, these kernels are great for eating, but they're also great for sowing. Because once we sow these into the ground, that hopefully, with God's grace, they will come up and they will grow to be wonderful corn. Now, why is sowing so important? Because when we are sowing this kernel into the ground, we are putting with it our hopes and our desires to see it grow. We can't really factually see this small kernel growing into this wonderful corn. But what we can do is we can vision it, and we go forward with that vision. We water it. We allow sunlight to shine upon it. We go forward with the expectation that God will use this kernel of corn and grow it into a harvest. Now, I know you can probably scientifically say this happens, this happens, this happens. Now, I'm not a farmer, so I can't say that. But what I do know is that when we put this in, there's no promise of a harvest. But we still sow it into the ground, relying on God's grace to make it grow. Now, I know some of you probably remember this when I talked about the children's story about how I got blisters in my hand from sowing grass seeds into the ground. Well, I have something to show you. Take a look. What you see in front of you is the new grass coming through the ground. Now, as I said, when I first put the seeds into the ground, when I rigged, I wasn't expecting to see something, but when I envisioned it, I worked for it. Now, this week we're going to start a series on growing, but we're also going to look at it through the lens of Nehemiah. God sows a seed to Nehemiah as a cupbearer of the king, but God sows a seed and saying, look, the walls have come down in the city of Jerusalem. I'm sowing a seed in you for you to reconstruct it. Now, as a cupbearer to the king in exile, does that make sense? No. But let's look together at how God sows a seed into Nehemiah. And let's look at how God will continue to work through Nehemiah, through that small vision that God sows into him. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday, 9:30. Blessings.